Hello everyone, you're watching FK_Life. Learning is fun and easy, and we are back again after that exciting song on nouns to know a little bit more about nouns. In fact, to know everything about nouns. By the end of this presentation, I assume you should be able to master your nouns, and this is the beginning of your Master Your Grammar series. So by the end of the series, I assume that you would be mastering your grammar. Okay, so let's start with nouns. Okay, now firstly, this presentation is called all about nouns, so let's go firstly to see what is the definition of a noun. Okay, the noun is a name of a person, place, animal, thing, quality, action, idea, or feeling. For example, if you're talking about a person, you can say John. If you are talking about a place, you can say London. An animal, you can say lion. A thing, you can say a chair. For example, an action, you can say a fight, or a feeling, you can say happy. Okay, so basically when you're naming something, be it an individual or a group, it is called a noun. Let's go and see ahead the different types of nouns that we have here. Okay, the different types of nouns are countable, uncountable, common, proper. Under common, you have material nouns, abstract nouns, and collective nouns. So these are the different types of noun. Let's go ahead and see what are the details about each one of them. So common noun, what is a common noun? A noun that indicates a class of objects or a concept not pointing to a particular individual. What is the main point here is that it is not pointing to a particular individual. They can be singular or plural. So such type of nouns are called common nouns. For example, when you say man, man does not indicate to a particular person, and ocean does not indicate to a particular ocean, country, friend, etc. Okay, so these are basically a group of people that we are indicating towards. Now let's see some examples in there. No, let's go to proper noun. Okay, so now when we come to proper noun, what is a proper noun? A noun used for a particular individual, okay, place, or organization. They are spelled with a capital letter. This is a very important point here, that when you use a proper noun, you write it starting with a capital letter, because for example, when you're taking names like Mahatma Gandhi, Abraham Lincoln, Oxford University, all these, if you notice, are in if you notice, it's in capital letters, starting with capital letters, which is very important. Okay, now when we let's see what exception is there in this case. Okay, now at times proper nouns can be used as common nouns. This is an exception where a proper noun is used as a common noun if we use it as a object of comparison. That is the main point here, that you're using it as an object of comparison. For example, all are Hitlers in this room. When you say all are Hitlers in this room, now we are not actually talking about the Hitler that we know here, but we are just, referring to the characteristics of the people in that room, okay, and saying and comparing Hitler to those people and saying all are Hitlers in this room. So in this case, Hitler is being used as a in the plural form, all right. Whereas if I would have if we were talking about Hitler, we would not use the plural form of Hitler. So in this case, we are saying all are Hitlers in this room. So this is an exception where we are using Hitler in the form of a common noun. Okay, we are naming a group of people by his name, and hence we are using the plural form, and hence it is also in the form of a common noun here. Now let's see the second example. At times we can use the article a or the before a proper noun. Wow, you have become the Picasso. So in this case, we are again comparing. This is also a case of comparison, okay, and hence we are using a or the before that. Okay, so these are the two exceptional cases, okay, which we have covered here. Now let's go ahead and see what are the different types of common nouns. The different types of common nouns, the first one is material noun. Let's see what is a material noun. A material noun is a word for a material, a substance, or an ingredient that other things are made up of. We can see and touch it. For example, gold, plastic, cotton, glass. All these are material nouns, okay, and you can actually see them and touch them. All right. Now, let's come to the next one, which is abstract noun. What is an abstract noun? It is a noun denoting an idea, a quality or trait rather than a material or concrete object. We can feel it, but we cannot see or touch it. Okay, this is a very important point, that you can feel it, but you cannot see or touch it. Okay, so for example, what are the examples? Let's say beauty, love, honesty, delay, religion, freedom. All these are, nouns which we can feel. Okay, you can feel the beauty of someone, you can feel the love, but you really cannot see or touch them. All right, so these kind of nouns are called abstract nouns. Let's go to the next one, which is collective nouns. By the name itself, you will know that it is a noun denoting a collection, a group, or a number of people or things. Okay, for example, herd, array, crowd, audience, etc. So, but when you come to collective nouns, there are again exceptions. Let's see what those exceptions are. So I put a star there, so you will know there is an exception. Let's go ahead and see in detail what they are. Okay, now collective nouns are used as singular nouns. Collective nouns are used as singular nouns, and for example, a herd of sheep, a flock of birds, an encouraging audience was cheering the performance. Okay, so what you can see here is that you have a herd, a flock, an encouraging audience. All of these are representing that although we are referring to a collection, but it is still in a singular form. So whenever you refer to the collective noun you are basically going to use the singular form. But again, in this case, there are exceptions. Let's go ahead and see what those exceptions are. First case is when you are referring to a part of the collection. When you're referring to a part of the collection or performing a task individually, in this case, we can use collective nouns as instead of the singular form, we use the plural form of those nouns. For example, the panel of judges are coming from various cities. An army of soldiers dressed in civil clothing were looking very smart. Now, in this case, because the panel of judges are coming from various cities, okay, although the panel of judges is, you refer to them as one, but since they are coming from various cities and since they are performing a task individually, that is why we are using the plural form here. Okay, because they all can't come from the same place, right? Okay, now next, in the next case, when we say an army of soldiers dressed in civil clothing, in this case we are referring to a part of the collection, and since we are referring to the part of the collection, we use the plural form here, which is were looking very smart. So an army of soldiers dressed in civil clothing were looking very smart. So this is one of the cases. Now next is you use the plural form when there is a difference of opinion. Okay, when there is a difference of opinion or dispute within the collection. For example, the crowd were fighting. So there is again a plural form here. The crowd were fighting for their lives. Okay, so these are the two cases in which you use the plural form for collective nouns. Otherwise, you always use the singular forms. Now let's go to the next one. Next type of noun, which is countable and uncountable. In case of countable nouns, we have what we have here. It says that we can count them. For example, chair, kid, student, man, etc. Now, in all of these cases, you can see that you can actually count how many chairs, how many kids, how many students, how many men. Okay, whereas now let's see the examples in detail. For example, a chair has broken. A chair has broken. 3 students are absent. 5 women were chatting. Can you give me a pencil? Okay, in all these cases, we can easily know that there is 1 here, 3 here, 5 here and 1 here again. So these are examples of countable nouns. All right. Now let's go to the uncountable nouns. We cannot count them, and there are two types of uncountable nouns, two categories of uncountable nouns. One is likely, unlikely. Okay, what is unlikely? Now for example, when you see gases, okay, can you really count gases? You can't, right? You can't count gases, so hence it falls under the uncountable nouns. But you can still give it a certain measure. You cannot count them, but you can still put him into a certain measure. For example, a gas cylinder. Okay, you can say a gas cylinder. You liquids, you cannot count a liquid, but you can say a can of milk, a bottle of water, okay, a log of wood, a bucket of sand. So these are gases, liquids, material, mass. These are uncountable nouns, but they are still under the unlikely category because we can still give them a certain measure. But there is the next category of uncountable nouns which is impossible to count or even give a certain measure. For example, let's see here. Okay, in this case we have abstract. Okay, abstract nouns, natural phenomenon, branches of learning. For example, in case of abstract nouns you have sadness, happiness, love, jealousy, etc. Okay, can you actually put any measure to this? You can't even put a certain measure to it, so you can't even count them, you can't put a measure to them, and hence they are impossible uncountable nouns. For similarly, there is natural phenomenon like thunder, lightning, etc. Again, these are uncountable and you cannot measure them. Again, then there is branches of learning, English, math, science, social studies. All these are again we cannot count them, neither can we give them a certain measure, and hence they fall under the category of impossible nouns. Let's go to the next one. Now in case of the next one, we have more on uncountable and countable nouns. It says that countable nouns have a singular and plural form. Okay, countable nouns have a singular and plural form. For example, car, cars, students, students, cloth, clothes. Okay, then you have uncountable nouns. In case of uncountable nouns, we generally have one form only. There is no plural form to it. For example, can you say milks? Can you say waters? Can you say breads? You can't. Hence, they are it falls under the category of uncountable nouns which are in plural forms. You cannot have a which are not in plural form. You cannot have a plural form for these nouns. But again, there are certain exceptions. Let's see what those exceptions could be. For example, you have abstract nouns like joy, okay, and you have sorrow. These are obviously the uncountable nouns, okay, and they are abstract uncountable nouns, okay. But can they be used in plural form? In certain cases they can. For example, life is a combination of joys and sorrows, okay. So you see, in this particular kind of case, you are using the plural forms of these nouns, okay. So these are just exceptions. For let's take another example. For example, if you say pain, pain otherwise is used in the singular form, but in a certain case you can use it in a plural form. For example, you say my father went through a lot of pains in his life, okay. So these are certain examples where you can use the uncountable nouns in plural form, okay, but otherwise generally they are used only in one form, which is singular. Now let's come to countable again. You can use singular or plural verbs, obviously, because they have the uh, because they have the singular and plural form, so you can use the singular and or plural verb. For example, the pencil is broken and the pencils are broken. So in this case we can use both, but that is not the case with uncountable nouns. You cannot use plural verbs in the case of uncountable nouns. You can't say sugar are sweet, you say sugar is sweet. You can't say oxygen are a gas, you say oxygen is a gas, okay. So that's where there is the difference. Now let's come to the last part of it, which is you can use a, an, or a number before a countable noun, okay. For example, you say a cat, An apple, 10 eggs. All these are showing numbers, which you can do in case of countable nouns, but you cannot do that in case of uncountable nouns. You cannot use a, an, or a number before them. Can you say a butter? You can't. Okay. Can you say and butter? No, you can't. Can you say a water? No. And water? No. So basically it is not possible to use a, an, or a number before uncountable nouns. Now let's go to the next section. Okay, now nouns from singular to plural. Let's see how we can make this part easier. Okay, and remember certain rules for changing nouns from singular to plural. These are places where we often make mistakes, so we need to keep such rules in mind. Let's go and see what it is. First one, regular nouns. You add a s. Generally, when you are changing a noun from singular to plural, you just add an s here. Okay, in this case. Then, for example, house, houses, pen, pens, tire, tires, spoon, spoons. But there are certain other cases where, for example, if the noun is ending in s, ch, sh, x, or z, in this case, we will add a es after the noun. For example, ash, ashes, catch, catches, tax, taxes, quiz, quizzes, pass, passes. Okay. Now let's go to the next case. If your noun is ending in a f or an fe, what do you do in this case? You remove the f and fe and you add a ves. Okay. For example, shelf, shelves, half, halves, knife, knives, life, lives. Okay. Let's go to the next one, which is nouns that end in a vowel plus a y. Okay, in the end of the noun there is a vowel plus a y. Firstly, do you know what the vowels are? The vowels in English language are a, e, I, o, u. These are the vowels in English language. So any word that ends with any of these vowels, and after that you have a y. In such cases, what do? Is you just add a s after the noun. So it's like tray, trays, monkey, monkeys, toy, toys, guy, guys. Let's see the next one. There are certain forms in which we do not change the noun itself. Okay, we do not change the noun even when it is changed into the plural form. For example, we don't say sheeps, we don't say deers. We have to say sheep even in the plural form, fish in the plural form, deer in the plural form, Chinese. We don't say Chineses, we say Chinese. And then there is furniture. So in all these type of cases, we do not change the noun even when you're talking of it in the plural form. Next, this time instead of vowels, if the noun is ending with consonants and then there is a y, in such cases all we do is that we have to add a ies after that, and you remove the y. Okay, so you have to remove the y and you have to add ies. For example, cry, cries, patty, patties, auntie, aunties. There should have been an s here. Story, stories. Okay, so that is this. Let's see the next one, which is ends, which is that the noun ends in a vowel again, but this time instead of a y it's ending with a o. So after the vowel there is a o. For example, there is duo, duos, studio, studios, igloo, igloos, stereo, stereos. Okay, then let's see the next case. In this case it is ending with a consonant and then an o. When it is such a case, you can either put a e or you can either put a es or you can put a s to make it a plural form. Okay, for example, mosquito, mosquitoes, volcano, volcanoes, piano, pianos, photo, photos. Okay, now let's come to the last case, which is irregular nouns. In case of irregular nouns, you know, there are in such a case we do not actually have a particular rule here, because in these cases the noun completely changes into in its plural form. For example, you say woman, women, children is the plural form for child, tooth, teeth, person, people, nucleus, nuclei, fungus, fungi, foot, feet. So as you can see that, you know, there is no particular rule for these irregular nouns. So that's about changing nouns from singular to plural. Now let's go to the next one. Now we are going to see the uses of nouns. How do we use nouns in different places and in what form? Okay, let's see okay, this should have come later anyways. So it says as a subject. Let's see the usage of a noun as a subject. The subject is a person, place, animal, thing, quality, action, idea, or feeling. Basically, the subject is the person or thing or an idea about which the sentence is. Okay, the sentence is about that particular person or thing, then it is called the subject. Okay, then that noun is called a subject. So what it says here is, or in case of a sentence, the subject is the person, place, thing, animal, quality, action, idea, or feeling the sentence is about. Okay, generally the subject is followed by a verb. So let's go and see some examples. First case is when you're using one subject in one sentence. So what is that? When you're using one subject in one sentence, you have Elizabeth danced so well yesterday. So whom are we talking about here? We are talking about the subject, who is Elizabeth, okay? And is followed by a verb. What was she doing? She danced so well yesterday, okay? So in this case, the subject is Elizabeth. We are talking about Elizabeth. The verb after that is also talking about Elizabeth. So this Elizabeth is used as a subject here, okay? Now let's come to the next one, which is India. Now when we say India encourages foreign investments, again we are talking about India. India is the subject here, and the verb follows which is encourages. Encourages, again, who encourages? India encourages, okay? So again India is the subject here. Now after coming home, John slept. Who slept? Whom are we talking about? We are talking about John, who slept, okay? So again this is a subject. So subject is basically the person or thing or feeling that we are talking about in that sentence. The game ended very soon. We are talking about the game here, so game is the subject. Then you have love remains forever. What remains forever? Love. We are talking about love. So love, game, John, India, Elizabeth are the subjects, the subjects in this sentence, the noun which is used as a subject. Next, let's go to the next case. In the next case, more than one subject in a single independent clause. Firstly, what is an independent clause? An independent clause is a clause which can stand by itself. It does not need the support of any other clause. Okay, it can make sense by itself. That is called a independent clause. So let's see an example where you are using more than one subject in one independent clause. For example, you say determination and persistence made him successful. So we are talking about what here? We are talking about the two characteristics which made him successful. What were the two characteristics? It was determination and persistence. Okay, so determination and persistence are the subjects here. Okay, then subjects and nouns, of course. Then you have exercise and diet. The exercise and diet help maintain good health. What helps maintain good health? Exercise and diet. So both of these are the subjects here. Let's go to the next case, which is more than one subject in more than one independent clause. Now there are two independent clauses in the example and more than one subject again. For example, the teacher asked the kids to keep working. We could have stopped here. This is an independent clause. Then you have, but the kids shouted while she was away. So if you see, the kids shouted while she was away is also a independent clause by itself, and the teacher asked the kids to keep working is also an independent clause. But What do we do here? We in both of these independent clause there are subjects, because in the first sentence we are talking about the teacher, and in the second sentence we are talking about the kids. So the teacher asked the kids to keep working, but the kids shouted. So here, as you can see, there are verbs being followed after the subjects. For example, teacher asked, kids shouted. Okay, so the who shout, the verb is pointing towards whom? Who shouted? The kids shouted. Who asked? The teacher asked. So in these two cases, in this case, the teacher and the kids are the subjects here. Noun being used as a subject. Now, until November, the temperature will remain high. Until November, the temperature will remain high. What will remain high? Temperature. And the plants will bear the heat. So, what will bear the heat? The plants. So, plants and temperature are the nouns being used as a subject here. Now, there are also cases, where there are more than one independent clause. Okay. Two subjects being used in more than one independent. Here previously we saw there was only one subject being used. Okay, for similarly, if you join two sentences, like in this case, okay, if you join two sentences which are independent by itself and then you have two in each, then you can create an example. I will not do that for you as a piece of cake. So I will just give you an example again like the previous one, like determination and persistence made him successful. And what you have to do is that you add another independent clause with two more subjects to it. Okay, and you can see how you can make a sentence yourself with nearly four nouns used as subjects and in two independent clauses. Okay, so that's the job for you. Now let's go to the next one. Okay, next one. More than one subject in a sentence with independent and subordinate clause. What is a subordinate clause? Unlikely in the independent clause, okay, what was it in the independent clause? That it could stand by itself. It did not need the support of any other clause. But it's not the case with the subordinate clause. Subordinate clause is always dependent on the independent clause. It cannot make sense by itself. Okay. So in such a case, we will see how we use the noun as a subject. Although Sam batted well. Although Sam batted well is again, one clause in which we are saying who batted. Whom are we talking about? We are talking about Sam. So Sam is the subject here. Tim dismissed him soon. Tim is the subject in the next clause. Okay. So Sam and Tim are the subjects here. Now similarly in the next example, let's just come to the last example. How did you come with the stranger who spoke to you in the morning? So in this case, you and who, both of these are the subjects in the two clauses. Okay, so firstly we are talking about you who came with the stranger, and then we are talking about the stranger who spoke to you in the morning. Okay, so again this is an example of more than one subject in an independence and a subordinate clause. Now this case is over. Now we go to the next usage of noun, which is a predicate noun. Okay, you will be comfortable with these words in my future presentations when we come to learn in detail about what is a predicate and so on. But presently, just to give you an idea, I have put in here that a predicate noun is a single noun or a noun phrase that renames the subject of a sentence. It renames the subject of a sentence and follows a form of the verb to be or another linking verb. Okay, don't get too hassled by this definition. When you come to the examples, you will understand it quite easy. First, before we go to the example, let's see what are the various forms of the word to be. Is, was, am, are, be, being, been, has been, maybe, and were. Then there are other linking verbs which are smell, taste, feel, continue, stay, turn, appear, become, grow, seem, sound, remain. Okay, so these are the different types of linking verbs and the forms of to be, and we see how we use them and how the noun is related to them. Okay, now my relative became a professional lawyer. In this case, you can clearly see that we are talking about whom? We are talking about my relative. So my relative is actually the subject, okay? It is the subject in this case. But now, what is the immediate verb after that? The linking verb here is became. Became what? Did he become the relative? No, he became a lawyer. So lawyer becomes the predicate noun here because the linking verb here, okay, are is pointing to whom? It is pointing to the lawyer. So lawyer here became the predicate noun, whereas relative remains the subject in the sentence, the noun being used as a subject. Okay, so it's very easy if you just see what the verb is linking to. The verb is talking about whom here? Became a lawyer. Hence lawyer becomes the predicate noun. Now Lata Mangeshkar is a great singer. Is the verb here. Is supposed to be the form of to be, which we saw here, the verb to be. So is what? Lata Mangeshkar is what? Is a singer. Hence singer becomes the predicate noun here, and the subject was Lata Mangeshkar. Okay, so this is the difference between the subject noun and the predicate noun. Okay, if you see different types of examples, you will clearly know what I mean to say. Now for the next 15 minutes we remained silent. We remained what? We remained what? We were actually the subject, okay, but we remained what? We remained silent. So silent becomes the predicate noun here, okay, because the linking verb is talking about silent. So we say silent is the predicate noun. Let's go to the next one. In this case, we are seeing as a direct object, noun being used as a direct object. The noun that receives the action of the transitive verb, the noun that receives the action of the transitive verb is called the direct object. Generally, a direct object follows the verb and can be found by asking who or what. Okay, you can find out who or what received the action of the transitive verb. That is the way to find out which is the direct object in the sentence when you ask who or what received the action of the verb. Let's go ahead and see the examples to know better. After having food, my brother always eats sweets. Who or what got this point here is eats. Eats is the verb, right? Now eats what? The question to be asked on eats here is eats what? Eats what? Sweets. So sweets is the direct object in this sentence. Okay, sweets is the direct object. Now, and the subject here was brother. Then let's come to the next one. To a child, encouragement builds confidence. So when we are talking about builds here, which is the verb, builds what? Builds confidence. So confidence is the direct object in this sentence. Then you have I discovered an old photograph in my almirah. What is the verb here? The verb is discovered. Discovered what? Did she discover an almirah? No, she did not. So we have discovered the photograph. So photograph is the direct object in your sentence. Now, after the exam is over, the peon will take the students' answer sheets to the office. So, will the peon, will take is supposed to be the verb here. Will he take the students to the office? No, he won't. He is going to take the answer sheets to the office. So, answer sheets is the direct object here in our sentence. Okay, now let's see. The police have arrested the man who committed the crime. So the police have arrested the man. Have arrested is the verb. Have arrested whom? The man. So the man becomes the direct object here in our sentence. Let's go and see next usage. In the same case as for direct object, we have different types of cases. In some cases, direct object follows the indirect object. For example, during the movie, Julie gave Stacy her purse to hold. Now, first thing is, what is the verb? First, you have to identify the verb. The verb is gave here. Okay, the one which is underlined is the verb. and the one which is in red is the direct object, and the one which is in blue is the indirect object. So first we have purse here. So first we have gave here. Gave what? Gave the purse. So purse becomes the direct object, and the purse, to whom did she give? To Stacy. Gave the purse to Stacy. So Stacy becomes the indirect object and purse becomes the direct object. Okay. Because why is purse the direct object? Because gave what? Gave what? Gave is the verb here. Gave what? The purse. So it is indicating toward the purse, which means purse is the direct object and Stacy becomes the indirect object. For example, in the second example, the teacher assigned. Assigned is the verb. Assigned what? Let's read the sentence first. The teacher assigned the students a project that was so exciting. Assigned what? The project. To whom? To the students. So assign what? To the direct object. Then the direct object was given to whom? To the students, which is the indirect object. So in your other case, in the next case that's going to follow, we are going to learn about nouns which are going to be used as indirect objects, which you have already seen here, that student and Stacy were indirect objects, whereas project and purse were direct objects, because the verb was directly indicating to the direct object and it was being given to the indirect object. Okay, so that's how we define how the noun is being used as a direct object or an indirect object. Let's come to the noun being used as an indirect object. So what happens in this case? The noun or pronoun that receives the direct object is that receives the direct object. What was happening in case of direct object? The noun that receives the action of the transitive verb was called the direct object, but now in this case the noun that receives the direct object is called the indirect object. So let's see. Generally an indirect object precedes the direct object and can be found by asking, okay, and can be found by asking who or what received the direct object. In the previous case we were asking who or what is receiving the action of the transitive verb, but in this case we'll ask who or what received the direct object. So that will give us our indirect object. For example, you have Sammy sent his mother a gift from London. So in this case, what did Sammy send? First the verb. What did Sammy send? He sent a gift. So gift becomes the direct object here, but he sent the gift to whom? To his mother. So mother becomes the indirect object here. So in all these sentences, the red ones indicate to the indirect object and the blue ones indicate to the direct object. Now, did kids give their money, give their mother the money? So what did the kids give? The action is, the verb is give, which is gave what? Money. Money to whom? To the mother. Okay, so money becomes the direct object, mother becomes the indirect object. Okay, so here the noun being used as an indirect object. Can you give the delivery boy the money? So again, what are we giving? We are giving the money, which becomes the direct object. Giving the money to whom? With the indirect object. So delivery boy is the indirect object. Okay, now let's go to the next case. Now where the noun is being as an used as an object of preposition. Okay, the preposition is a word that comes before a noun to show relationship to another word in the phrase or clause. Okay, preposition is a word that comes before a noun to show relationship to another word in the phrase or clause. Hence, a noun that can function as an object of the preposition or the noun that comes after the preposition is called the object of preposition. Again, don't get confused with the statement. Let's see the examples, you will know better. Now, please give this gift to Sam. In this sentence, to is supposed to be the preposition. To whom? Let's ask the question, to whom? To Sam. So Sam becomes the object of preposition in this case, okay, because the preposition is referring to Sam. Our destination is just around the corner. Around is the preposition here. Around where? Around the corner. So corner becomes the noun being used as an object of preposition. Okay. Then the kids hid behind their desk. Behind what? Behind the desk. So behind is the preposition and desk is the object of preposition. The bus came from school. From where? From school. School becomes the object of preposition. We stayed in California. California becomes the object of preposition because it in is referring to California. So the preposition is referring to California. So that's how we identify the objects of preposition. Again, you will learn more about prepositions in my future presentations, but for now, I think it's quite understandable already. Let's go to the next one. As an appositive, noun being used as an appositive. This is quite easy to identify. When you see a noun that is renaming or identifying the person or thing which is earlier mentioned in the sentence already, that kind of noun is called a noun as an appositive. For example, when you come to the example, it will be even more clear. The appositive can be short or long combination of words. Okay, let's see the examples. My mother, we have already presented the noun here. Okay, the noun here is my mother. Okay, but we are re-emphasizing, renaming or re-identifying or probably just identifying the person in this statement. When you say my mother, a school principal, you are trying to say your mother is a school principal, so you are identifying or let's say renaming a person which you have already mentioned in the statement, and hence school principal becomes the appositive noun here. Okay, school principal becomes the appositive noun here because we are re-emphasizing. Now our neighbor, a tall bearded man. Okay, our neighbor, a tall bearded man. This time we are using a long combination of words, okay, to re-identify that, to identify that person. This is a tall bearded man. This is the appositive form of the noun. Our neighbor, a tall bearded man, is leaving tonight for good. Then the city, a concrete jungle. We are talking about the city which is now a concrete jungle. So this is again a kind of emphasizing or renaming of or relating it to a characteristic. So hence this is the appositive form of the noun. Okay, then my friend, a dancer, came to meet me today. Again we are renaming it, renaming the friend, and hence it becomes an appositive noun. Now, let's go to the next one. This is very easy. This is the noun being used as a direct address. Basically, when you're just addressing someone, calling them by their name, it is called the noun being used as a direct address. A noun of direct address means the noun is used to refer to someone directly. Nouns of direct address are always separated from the rest of the sentence with a comma. This is very important, that when you are using that noun, even it doesn't matter where they are in the sentence, you have to separate them with a comma. Okay, let's see the example. Excuse me, class, can we remain silent? So the teacher here is saying excuse me, and then she is addressing to the class, can we remain silent, and we separate it with two commas. Okay, then Paul, can you please ask Samantha to call me? So Paul here becomes the direct address. Then you have you also have Samantha in this sentence, but Samantha is not the noun being used as a direct address because you are not directly calling Samantha. You are calling Paul. Paul, can you please ask Samantha to call me? So Paul becomes the direct address here. Now, I would request you to help me, Mary. So Mary again becomes here the direct address. The patient is in the operation theater, doctor. Doctor becomes the direct address. The room, Jim, has to be clean. So Jim is again separated by commas and Jim is the direct address here. Let's go and see the next one. The next use of noun is as an object complement. Okay. In case of an object complement, earlier we were seeing the noun as an object. Okay, so noun as an object was the what was it? An object complement is that completes the meaning of a direct object. What was the direct object? The direct object was basically, you know, when you are when the direct object is the thing which is receiving the direct action of the transitive verb, as we have seen earlier. But now object complement, we should see what an object complement is. We'll know again with the example. It is used when the direct object would not make complete sense by itself. Okay, then we use a object complement. It is used with verbs like make, name, call, choose, elect, and account. Okay, make, name, call, choose, elect, and account are the different kinds of verbs where we can use the direct object. The object complement. Let's see how it is. I choose Alex to be the next captain. So firstly, here in this sentence we have the object is Alex. I choose Alex, and who to be what? To be the captain. So now captain here is actually complementing Alex here. Who is the captain? Alex is the captain. So Alex is the object, who, and captain becomes the use of noun as a object complement. Okay, let's see the next example. The chocolate made the kids happy. So what is the object here? The object is kids. Okay, what did they become? They became happy. So happy is actually complementing the word kids, which is the subject in this sentence, and so happy becomes, the object in this sentence. So happy becomes the object complement. Okay, so this becomes the object complement. And if you see, like it says here, that it doesn't make complete sense by itself, then we use an object complement. For example, the chocolate made chocolates made the kids. If we stop here, the sentence does not make any sense. If we don't put happy, the sentence does not make any sense. Hence we have to put happy here, and happy hence becomes the object complement. So without the object complement, the sentence is incomplete. Okay, then you have I named my dog. It should have been my here, sorry about that. Okay, this is my. I named my dog Aryan. Okay, now if I wouldn't have put Aryan here, the sentence wouldn't have been complete. So and the object dog, my dog is the object here, and so what did I name him? I named him Aryan. So Aryan becomes the object complement, and without this object complement, the sentence is incomplete. To see the true colors of my brother make him mad. Okay, again, if we do not add this part of the sentence is incomplete. So we complete the sentence, and the object here whom we are talking about is the brother, and he is we have to make him mad. So mad becomes the object complement. Right, so now let's go to the last one here in the usage of noun, which is as a subject complement. Okay, as a subject complement, a noun that renames or defines in some way the subject is a subject complement. Okay, we had also seen in the case of a positive that a noun which renames, right? Renames or identifies. This is slightly different. Okay, we will see how. Let's see. So is a subject complement. It generally follows a linking verb that links to its subject. Okay, in the previous case, in a positive, we were saying, for example, we were saying my mother, a school principal. Okay, now that was the subject whom we were re-emphasizing on and redefining. Okay, but in this case we are talking about the subject, but not exactly renaming as such. Okay, we are defining that subject or expressing or showing the characteristics of that person in a certain way in this case. Okay, so let's see. For example, we have Tom is a lover of animals. Now firstly, the linking verb here is important, which was not the case in the positive. appositives. Okay, in appositives we did not check out any linking verb. It only followed by a comma and it was just renaming the subject, whereas here the linking verb is very important here because that is going to point to the subject complement. So Tom is a lover. Is what is a lover? Whom are we talking about? The subject Tom. Tom is the subject here, okay, and lover is the subject complement here, and this linking verb is talking about Tom. Is talking about what the lover is what a lover. So hence in this case lover becomes the subject complement. My goal is to travel. Where is the subject in this sentence? I am the subject in this sentence, and is, what is the goal? Goal is to travel. All right, so the linking verb is pointing to whom? Is what? Is to travel. So travel becomes the subject complement. Okay, uh, in this case, sorry, the goal was supposed to be the subject, right? Goal is the subject and the subject complement is travel. All right, then we have Ron's greatest ambition is to climb Burj Khalifa. Now, the who is the subject here? Ron. Ron is the subject, okay? But the linking verb is is. Is what? Ron's ambition is what? Is to climb. All right. So climb becomes the subject complement. All right, so climb is the subject complement here because the linking verb is directly pointing to climb. Okay, then your mother looks tired. Now again, who is looking tired? Your mother is looking tired. Okay, and the tired becomes the subject complement here. Okay, so that's how we identify or we use the nouns in different forms. Okay, and why we need to know these are because in any kind of exams, whether you are appearing for any kind of English exam, be it any competitive exam, qualifying test, or your exams in your schools, in all these tests, you need to really know the usage of the noun in various ways. So with the end of this presentation, you should now be able to recognize in different sentences which noun is actually representing what, in what form is it being used, what is a noun, it's the different types of nouns, the different usages of nouns, the definition of nouns. So, and if you go over this presentation at least a couple of times, you should be able to understand it even better. All right, so that's about nouns, and very soon we'll be there with you with an exciting song on verbs like we had on nouns. So for now, please go through this presentation at least a couple of times to be able to become an expert in nouns, and then we will be back with a verb song and the details of the verbs. So as I told you, I promised you, you are going to be able to master the grammar after the master the grammar series that you follow with me. Thank you very much, and please do not forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel fk_life. Learning is fun and easy, and join my Facebook page far klife, far k life. All right. So thank you very much for your patience, and I hope you found this informative. Bye.